Hi everybody, welcome to today's Ocean Wonders video. Today we're going to be learning about the walrus. So what exactly is a walrus? Well, it's a vertebrate. Walruses are animals that have a backbone. They're also mammals. Just like us, we're mammals too. So what exactly is a mammal? Well, it's an animal that's warm-blooded, has hair or fur. They give birth to live young, and they have a four-chambered heart. And walruses are also in the group of animals called pinnipeds. So the word pinniped means fin or flipper-footed and refers to marine mammals that have front and rear flippers. Can you think of any other marine animals like this? What about seals and sea lions? They're also pinnipeds. These are animals that live in the ocean but are able to come on land for long periods of time. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of pinnipeds lived on land. They were probably animals like bears or weasels. They spent more and more time in the ocean and eventually adapted to live in the marine environment. Where do walruses live? Well, you can see by this map that walruses are generally found in very cold water. They live in the Arctic Circle, never too far away from land, and they prefer air temperatures of about -15 degrees Celsius to about 5 degrees Celsius, very cold. They're generally found where the water isn't too deep, and they prefer areas where the bottom, the sea floor, is gravelly rather than sandy. They spend about 2/3 of their lives in the water. What does a walrus look like? Walruses have wrinkled brown and pink skin. They have long, coarse whiskers, flat flippers, and lots of blubber on their bodies to keep them warm in the cold Arctic water. They can slow down their heartbeat to withstand the chilly water temperatures and to help them stay underwater for as long as 10 minutes. The males are always larger than the females. The greyish skin of the walrus can be about 2 to 4 centimeters thick with deep folds around the shoulders. The skin is covered with short hairs, and this is one of their features of being a mammal that I mentioned earlier. Their long tusks are very useful body parts. They are used to pull their gigantic bodies out of freezing cold water. They also use their tusks to break breathing holes through ice. Remember, they're not fish, so they can't breathe underwater. They have to come up to the surface for air. The tusks are also used for defending themselves and for showing off and trying to attract a mate. Tusks are found on both males and females, and they keep growing throughout their lives. The tusks are actually canine teeth and can grow to about 1 meter long. The whiskers on walruses are very sensitive, and they're longest around the corners of their mouths. These are used to help the walruses find their favourite meals. Walruses like to eat clams and oysters, and these are found down on the ocean floor. So the walrus rubs its mouth along the seabed to try and find the shellfish. Walruses also have lots of blubber to keep them warm in the cool Arctic water. Walruses are carnivores, and this means that they prefer to dine on other animals rather than plants. Their main diet consists of shellfish like clams, mussels, and oysters. However, they also feed on fish, and they've been seen eating small seals as well. Walruses are social animals, and they live in groups called herds. They often congregate by the thousands on rocky shore beaches in the summer and the autumn months, just after their migration. They can live to be 40 years old in the wild. A beach that contains thousands of walruses would be a very loud place. Walruses can create many different sounds. They can growl, whistle, bark. Often, I think they sound like they're doing a deep burping noise. Walruses have an air sac under their throat, which helps them float in the water so that they can sleep. Scientists have discovered that it is mostly adult females and their young that migrate. They follow the sea ice edge north in the summer, while the males remain in the south and haul out onto rocky shores when the ice melts. Walruses migrate primarily by swimming, but they may also hitch a ride on ice floes. Walruses can migrate more than 3,000 kilometers. How cute! Walrus calves are usually born between April and June during the northward migration. Calves are usually born on the ice. A female generally only gives birth to one calf, however, twins have been found in nature. Newborn calves weigh about 45 to 75 kilograms, meaning that a newborn calf will be heavier than most of you. Now, we don't usually find walruses around Ireland. However, we did have a walrus visitor to Ireland last year. So last January, down in Valencia in Kerry, a child and one of her parents were out for a walk and they thought they spotted a seal. However, they quickly realised it was a walrus. Very soon after, this walrus was spotted again around the coast of Kerry, and then throughout the months from spring to summer it was spotted in Cork and in Waterford too. It was also spotted over in England. Now, this is very unusual. There have been one or two incidences of walruses in Ireland before, but it's not very common at all. This walrus was nicknamed Wally, and he was featured in the papers and on the news about once a week during the summer last year. He became famous for all his shenanigans, but he had distinctive markings on his flippers which enabled scientists in Ireland and in other countries to compare their photographs and to confirm that it was the same walrus. As you now know, walruses live much of their lives swimming around in the water, but they need to come up and have a rest on the surface. Up in the Arctic, the walruses lounge on floating pieces of ice, but down in the seawater surrounding Ireland, we don't have ice for them to rest on. So this is where Wally got into a bit of trouble. He kept using boats as a resting spot. He sank numerous boats throughout the year last year, and there's lots of hilarious pictures of him sitting on top and lounging on different people's boats throughout the coast of Ireland. Eventually, Seal Rescue Ireland intervened and they secured an unused pontoon for Wally's use and sent it using some towels from a boat that he'd already recently used and sunk. So Seal Rescue Ireland and a couple of other wildlife groups worked together to try to keep Wally safe. Eventually, Wally ended up swimming up to Iceland, where scientists were able to confirm his location because they were able to recognize him with the distinctive markings on him. And we believe that he was able to make his way back home from wherever he came from. I hope he enjoyed his holidays in Ireland last summer. It is estimated that there are around 250,000 walruses in the world. But like other marine animals, they have a number of threats to their existence. The first one is hunting. And Native Americans are currently still allowed to hunt walruses, and the species' survival was threatened by past overhunting. In the past, hunters in the 18th and 19th centuries captured walruses for their tusks, their oil, their skin, and their meat. Male aggression is another threat to walruses. When males gather on beaches, they can be extremely violent, fighting with their large tusks. They want to establish dominance and they fight over finding a female mate. Climate change is another threat. This animal relies on sea ice for feeding and reproductive purposes. As the ice diminishes, mothers and babies can sometimes be more easily separated. If this happens, a baby calf may starve. Other threats to walruses include animals that eat them. These include polar bears and killer whales. Now that you've learned about walruses, I'm sure you want to know what you can do to help protect them. Well, there are lots of things that you can do. You can support animal charities. You can reduce the amount of waste that you generate. Make simple swaps, like try to opt for reusable items, like reusable bottles and cups. Say no to plastic whenever you can. For example, put your sandwich in a lunchbox rather than in a plastic bag or in plastic cling film. Try to eat sustainable seafood. Keep an eye out for the little symbol that signifies sustainable seafood. And take action against climate change. Throughout your work on green schools, you've learned loads of tips and tricks that you can apply in your school and at home to reduce your water consumption, your energy consumption, and to increase biodiversity. If we all work together, we can make small changes that add up to big change. Thanks for joining me today and learning all about the magnificent creatures that are walruses.